All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're so glad you're here. We'll be getting started in just a minute or two to give everyone time to join. We'll just give it a couple seconds. And while we're waiting, feel free to connect with us on socials, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and you can use those QR codes that are on our screen as well. And my name is Stacey Padgington. I'm the sales director here at Checkpoint EHR, and I'll be your co-host today. So some housekeeping items. So before we jump in, just a few quick things we want to chat about. Everyone is muted to keep things running smoothly. Your camera is enabled, but of course, optional. So we would like to see your smiling faces. We hold all questions until the end during our Q&A session, and this session is being recorded, so you'll receive a copy afterwards. If anything comes up during the presentation, feel free to drop it in the Q&A, and we'll make sure we get to it. So here's our webinar team. So I'd love to introduce the team you'll be hearing from today. So I'll be your co-host, and I'm joined by Katie Fournier, our Director of Customer Success and Operations, and we'll be helping moderate and support throughout the session. And most importantly, our presenter today is Uriah Guilford, also known as the head nerd at Productive Therapist, who brings a ton of insight and practical strategies to what we're covering today. So at Checkpoint EHR, everything we do is rooted in a partnership-first approach. We're not just a vendor, we're here to support your success long-term. So this is just a little bit about who we are and what we do. So we spent about 20 years working specifically in behavioral health. So our platform is built for real-world workflows, not generic healthcare processes. Our goal is simple: reduce complexity as your organization grows so your team can focus more on care and less on administrative burden. At the end of the day, we're here to help, and we're here to help the people who serve others by giving you technology that actually makes your work easier. So what does that actually look like in practice? Our approach is centered around simplicity, scalability, and supporting real operational needs. That includes things like automated claim submission, robust reporting, and dedicated success partners. So you're never on your own. We also focus heavily on ease of use with intuitive design because adoption matters just as much as functionality. And in terms of what's included, our model is revenue-based and unlimited users, no clearinghouse fees, AI-assisted documentation, and tools like a client portal and automated reminders. And we're just getting ready to roll out our custom forms, which is very exciting. All of this is designed to help you operate more efficiently while improving both staff and client experience. So now let's get into today's topic: how to never miss a client, the AI receptionist solution. Woo-hoo! And I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Uriah Guilford. Take it away.
Hello, everybody. I'm so thrilled to be here and talking to you about one of my favorite things, the combination of counseling and technology. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll get into this topic. This is something that I am just having so much fun with, to be honest with you. So let me get into this. Okay. Team, tell me if you can see my screen now.
Yep, good to go.
Okay, fantastic. So yes, the topic here today is how to never miss a client. And I think this is actually super important. It's always been important because as therapists, we want to connect with all the folks that reach out to us. And we got into this work because we want to help people. Life has gotten busy. The world has gotten busy. There's so much noise out there. But the mental health need of people in our country and around the world has never been greater. And so we want to do whatever we can to use, like Checkpoint, provides intuitive technology to get our work done and to connect with clients and help more people. So hopefully through this presentation, you possibly will change what you think is possible for your intake process. And the good thing about this talk is that we are going to tackle one very specific problem. And then we're going to talk about the best solutions. We'll get into the implementation, and then also answer all of your questions, hopefully, or most of your questions about this idea of using an AI receptionist and how to use that while still remaining human, still connecting on a human level. And I want to start with one very important question, and that is this: Have you ever worried, or do you worry about losing potential clients because you can't respond fast enough? And feel free to post in the chat if you want, and the team will share questions or comments with me. I think we all think about this nights and weekends when we're not available to respond to folks, and we know that they're hurting. We know that our services can help them, but the reality is that we can't respond fast all of the time. So this is the problem that we want to solve. It's not a marketing problem, honestly, because if you're out there doing really good marketing, whether it's community networking, digital marketing, or any of those other types of things, then inquiries are coming in. People are calling. People are filling out your website forms. People are getting in touch with you. This is not a marketing problem, and it's not a clinical problem. It's actually an intake problem, and it's costing you more than you think. So here's the reality. Scaling your intake system is hard. And I'll tell you this, a little caveat for this presentation. It's kind of geared towards group practice owners, so practices with multiple clinicians, but everything that I'm going to talk about today absolutely applies to solo practices as well. And the reality is that none of us really know what it's going to be like when we reach our goals. I remember as a solo practice, my goal was always to get to 20 clients per week. That was like the holy grail. And then once I got there, I realized I was so busy I couldn't respond to people. I couldn't, I was in my office seeing teenage clients and families until like 9 p.m. every night, and I just couldn't get back to folks fast enough. So, and on top of being a solo practice owner, I've had a group practice now for about 10 years. So as the practice scales and grows, whether it's solo or group, the needs of your practice, they scale as well. A small practice, you can handle everything by yourself. And then when you grow to 5 clinicians, 10 clinicians, 20 clinicians or more, you do the best that you can to build systems that work, use the functionality of your EHR, of course, and build systems and build a team as well. But every missed client is a little bit of missed revenue. And it's hard to meet that need, but it's absolutely possible. The solution here that I'm talking about today is using AI speed plus human care. So AI responds within seconds, and that intake process starts immediately, no waiting. And then humans provide the care, compassion, and connection that only they can provide. And I think now and going forward, we genuinely need both, because AI alone is fast but cold. And I shared this in the last time I gave this talk, that I made a questionable decision not too long ago to pull into a Krispy Kreme donut drive-through lane. And it was delicious. I love those donuts. But when I got up to the place to place the order, it was a giant screen, bigger than usual. And it was actually an AI, like a voice AI agent that was talking to me and taking my order. And I was like, this is crazy. This is the first time I've ever experienced this. So I pull out my phone and I'm like videotaping myself talking and making this order with this AI order taker or whatever. And it tried to upsell me on adding more donuts, buying more donuts, and all those kinds of things. So I finished my order and I pull up to the window, and there's a nice guy there, and he, hands me my donuts and everything, and I pay. And I said, I just have to ask you, like, do people do they like the AI sort of order taker thing? And he said, it's mixed. Some people like it, some people don't. And I said, well, is it making your job easier? And he said, no, I wish we could just go back to doing it the way we did before. Point there being, right, if we only interact with AI through a business that we're trying to get services from, it's going to be cold and impersonal. So that's not quite enough. And then humans alone, humans are fantastic, right? But they have their limitations. We all have our limitations. Together, the speed of AI, the care of humans, you can genuinely respond to every inquiry and help more people. The point here really is for you to be able to enjoy running your practice. Like I said before, you and I, all of us got into this work because we want to help people. We feel like we have some solutions to the needs of the folks in our community. And we also, if you're a group practice owner, you want to support your clinicians. It can be very stressful running a solo practice. And then as a group practice, there's just added complexity and stress that comes with that too. And we do need better systems, but we want to have a better experience of running our practice. And what happens a lot of times is we get into this to have freedom and to have more finances, but then at the end of the day, we are kind of like working a job, and it's sort of not as satisfying as we want it to be. And what we always say here at Productive Therapist is we believe that therapists deserve to have a life and a business that they love. Actually, I say it the other way around, business and a life, right? Because you should absolutely be enjoying your life as well as having success in your practice. So imagine this. and this is for group practice owners, right? But imagine having a busy team, or for you solo folks, a busy calendar, like a perfectly packed calendar, a growing practice, and like a genuine felt sense of time freedom. So you feel like you actually have time and space to do the things you want to do in your life, spend time with your partner, your kids, do activities, have hobbies. A lot of therapists, they're like, oh, you ask them the question, what's your hobby? Like, oh, checking my email at 9:30 at night. No, that's not a hobby. Go out and play pickleball. Be fun. Go hiking. All that. So that's what's possible. And for me, honestly, like, I've always used my practice to help folks and accomplish my personal mission and support my family. But at the end of the day, I have not ever just wanted financial success. I also want that time freedom. And when you have both of those, I think it's you genuinely feel like you're winning. You're doing well. So here's a truth that we have to kind of grapple with. And I wish things are different, but this is the truth. The first practice to respond gets the client. The first to respond gets the client. I'm going to share some statistics with you that will drive this home even further, but we all get this intuitively. And if you've ever had a need, an emergency, a crisis of some sort, you know that this is also true. I'll tell you a story about my plumbing emergency here in a minute. So check this out. There's a lot of research and statistics out there. I pulled a couple that I think are particularly impactful. And I found that 78% of folks choose the first practice to respond, the first business to respond. Let's just make it general. Even if, this is an interesting point, even if they originally wanted somebody else or a different business, they will choose the first to respond. Makes sense. Speed is an absolute advantage. And like I said, I wish this wasn't true, but now more than ever, when you've got this device, in your pocket that now has not only the internet, not only social media, but AI tools that can give you absolutely any answer, any information that you could possibly want, any waiting feels slow, unfortunately. But speed does build trust. It sets expectations, and it actually establishes rapport immediately. So competitive advantage for sure. And I don't know if anyone here has ever explored like what it's like to be a potential client for some of the big therapy platforms. I won't name names, but you know who I'm talking about. I'll tell this quick story to kind of illustrate the point too. A couple of years ago, I heard some advice from a business coach for therapists, and he said, you should check out your competitors and understand how they operate. I thought, well, that's interesting. He said specifically, go to BetterHelp and get a therapist and see what it's like, right? So I was like, that's really interesting advice, but I felt like conflicted about it, because we have all kinds of reasons to be conflicted about these kinds of things. But sure enough, I did that. I think it was on a Saturday. I downloaded the app. I signed up for BetterHelp, and guess what? It was seamless. It was easy. I actually got matched with the therapist basically immediately after filling out a form, and then I had an appointment within the next week. So I don't think we need to copy them by any means, and I don't think that their practices are necessarily great. I think connecting with a human is still something most of us want to do, but the point there being that the easy path and the first to respond kind of coincide, right? And here's the next one. Check this out. 391% higher conversions if you respond within 1 minute. And when I say conversions, I mean, that's kind of like a sales and marketing term, but basically turning a caller into a client, helping them transition from just an inquiry to an actual client. 391% higher conversions. And it drops fast. Like it goes down to 160% at 2 minutes and then 36% after an hour. So the first minute is everything. And honestly, if someone had told me this 6 months, 12 months ago, I would have said, that's nice. That doesn't apply to my business, and also nobody can do that. Who can respond within a minute or less to every inquiry? Nobody. But guess what? Now you can, and it's pretty awesome. Okay, so you kind of get the point there. 2 quick stories. I already told you 2 stories that were not even on my slides, but hopefully they're good ones. So this one, I'll make it short, but this was about a year ago on a Saturday, and I was doing a DIY project in my house like I like to do, and I was actually hanging a picture above the toilet in our downstairs bathroom, and I was putting a screw into the wall, and I felt a little like resistance, so I pushed right through it, of course, and then within seconds, water was coming out of the drywall. And I immediately knew, oh, this is a problem. this is like a real problem for me. So, and I realized I needed a plumber because I don't do plumbing. I don't do electrical. I just put holes in the wall, apparently. So I got on my phone and, I can't remember if it was Yelp or Google. It wasn't AI. This was a little bit of time ago. And I found the three plumbers near me, the top three, and I called all of them. Called the first one, voicemail. Called the second one, voicemail. Called the third one. Gentleman actually picked up, talked to me for a minute, and then came over to my house within 2 hours, cut a big hole in my bathroom wall, and fixed my problem. So that was awesome. And I guess what, I happily gave him whatever he was charging. I think it was $200 or $300. Then I needed to get that hole patched in my wall. But the first to respond in that case definitely got my business. And I didn't know this guy. He was not one of the big names, the big plumbing companies in my area who I usually use, but he was available. So that was awesome. Another story, I'll keep this one short, but about 3 years ago, I needed to get counseling for my youngest daughter. And I would say it was quite critical. And we needed to get her to the right therapist as fast as possible. And so we did a bunch of research and, found the problem was that I know a lot of the good therapists in the area, so I couldn't send her to them. But we found some good options and I reached out to all of them. I think I ended up reaching out to 5 or 6 of them, and it was too slow, right? I ended up in voicemail purgatory more times than I would like to have done so, and filled out some forms. None of them had online scheduling options, so I couldn't actually schedule a consult call. It was too slow, unfortunately. So you get the idea there, right? First to respond gets the client, and we genuinely, as therapists, want to do this. We want to respond when we get a voicemail or an email and it's someone that's hurting and we know that we could actually help them. Like, obviously it pulls on our heart and we want to be there for them. Okay, so a few problems. I'll go through these quickly. Building a great intake team is genuinely hard. So if you're scaling beyond solo practice, you have to find great people, you have to train them, you have to keep them working in your business and functioning at a high level. And this is actually why I started Productive Therapist back in 2018, because I was growing my group practice and I needed part-time admin support specifically to handle the intake process. And I accidentally started a virtual assistant company that grew quite a bit to this point. And so that it's just hard, right? And then it can be slow. So whether it's you or you have an intake coordinator or you have a team, like an intake team, even when you build good systems and you hire good people, as the volume increases and more inquiries keep coming in, it just gets harder and harder, and your response time can actually still be slow. And then it's pricey, right? If it's just you doing the work, it doesn't cost anything, but guess what? Your time is very valuable. And if you think about it, your time, whether you charge, whether you get reimbursed at $80 a session or $200 or $300, that's to some degree what your time is worth. And so if you're spending a lot of that time responding to those inquiries, that is time that you could be seeing clients, right? The costs compound for sure as we try to increase the speed of our response. So what actually works? Here are the 4, I think, best options, and they kind of go from starting a practice to scaling to maybe getting into a group practice possibly. So we've already talked about answering the phone yourself. I should have put a picture of me here being very unhappy answering my phone, but it's a happy picture of me. And like I said before, this works when you're small, and especially when you're starting your practice, right? Like you genuinely have time to respond to people, answer emails, and make phone calls and all those kinds of things. And you can likely convert well. You can talk to them, have a good conversation, and sign up more clients. But that absolutely does not scale. I remember in the early days, like year 1, year 2, before I hired an intake coordinator, I was doing all the marketing, all the networking. I was seeing 20 to 25 clients. I was cleaning stains in the carpet. I was, just doing all the things. And it got to be quite overwhelming. So this is a good starting point. And honestly, a lot of folks do this throughout their entire practice. So there's nothing wrong with this. It just doesn't scale, right? And the speed, I've talked to quite a few solo practices where they're like, I feel bad, I feel guilty because someone calls and I'm so busy that I don't get back to them for days. Sometimes it's even a week, and that doesn't feel great, right? So solution number 2, a virtual answering service. And some of you might have considered this at some point, or maybe you've never even thought about it, but you can absolutely hire a company I'll name one that's quite good for medical and mental health folks. It's called Well Received. It's wellreceived.com. And this is, the traditional idea of a call center. Now it's like distributed. So people are like all over the place, not in a building like I was when I worked in a call center in college. I was like literally in a cubicle in this giant warehouse taking orders for leather cases and phone batteries for cell phones. But yeah, virtual call center or virtual receptionist can answer your phone 100% of the time, answer basic questions that clients have, and then they can, if you have a scheduling system, they can book them for a consult call like on your calendar or something like that. So definitely some positives to this. It's reasonably affordable. Last time I checked, and this was actually pretty recently, different companies were about $2 to $4 per minute. So I wouldn't say it's like cheap, but I would say it's affordable. The cons, of course, are that you're not going to give this call center essentially access to your Checkpoint EHR, and you shouldn't, right? And it's going to be a different person answering the phone every time. And some of them might be wonderful, some of them might not be so good. And so you don't have control over the quality of that experience. But it's a good solution if you're trying to take some part of this off of your plate. So that's number 2. You get coverage, but it might not increase your conversions, right? Solution number 3, hire a dedicated employee. This is a great one. And it's quite a heavy lift or like a learning curve when you do this for the first time. We've hired over like 100 virtual intake coordinators now, so we know exactly how to do it really well. But hiring a part-time person, honestly, whether it's, I don't recommend hiring friends, but somebody local that is just like a stay-at-home mom that wants to do some extra work, or, somebody that or a freelancer or something like that, that can absolutely help you a ton. I can remember when I hired my first virtual assistant in 2012, literally only for 5 hours a month. And it honestly changed my life. She did so many things for me. That was kind of the inspiration for me starting Productive Therapist, a virtual assistant company, was Gina, the very first person I worked with. It really made a huge difference. When I remember, one week I got 10 inquiries. And if it was just me seeing 25 clients trying to get back to 10 people, it would not work. So I was very thankful for Gina. And then that, of course, can scale to a full-time intake person. We work with some practices that have, like, my goodness, 40 to 50 clinicians in the practice. And so they have like a team of 3 to 5 front desk people, intake people. So that you can absolutely do, hire a dedicated employee. And this is like, a really good solution because it's still it's high touch in the sense that like this is a human talking to your potential clients. And the good thing about this too is that they're not a therapist, so they can't work with the client. So they can kind of run interference for you and like screen people for you and those kinds of things. Of course, the downside is that it's expensive to hire and employ anybody. Honestly, it just is, with payroll taxes and benefits and various different things. And so it's a good solution. But of course, humans, like I said before, have limitations. They want to go on vacations, I guess, and take weekends off and all these kinds of things. And as they should, right? Because we want as therapists to have good mental health. We want our clients to have good mental health, and anybody that works to support us, we want them to also have good mental health. So that's number 3. Number 4 is kind of the newest solution, the thing that I'm most excited about and have been exploring for quite some time now, is this idea of an AI receptionist. And if you haven't seen this or heard about it, after this presentation, you're probably going to see it everywhere you go. They're popping up, honestly. Phone systems, and some electronic health records, especially for like physical therapists, have like AI built in for phone calls, which is kind of crazy. I don't think an AI receptionist should be inside of your EHR, but I don't know. Maybe there's an idea for you guys. So the key here is that it responds in seconds, right? It works, quote unquote, 24/7, never takes a day off. And it's very impressive. I would say about a year ago, I was doing demos for these kinds of voice AI agents, and it just wasn't very good. And I couldn't figure out a way to make it HIPAA compliant and all these kinds of things. And then I think it was actually last summer, I started doing some more demos, found some different companies and some different providers. And I was genuinely like kind of blown away by the quality of the interaction back and forth, the conversational quality of it, the quickness of it. And so I'm going to show you some demos. You'll see what I'm talking about. So AI, great at speed and coverage, not great at nuance, empathy, or trust. And that's where the magic happens when you do what I'm talking about today and you combine those two things, right? The speed of AI and the care and compassion of humans. That's the key. So this is what we call the productive therapist method. Just exactly what I told you, 24/7 AI receptionist, and then a human intake specialist, or put in that role, human therapist, obviously. The funny thing is I've never said the word human more than I have in the last year, but this is the world we live in, right? Humans. And I think that's, it's awesome that we are human. But we call this the complete intake system, and it's what I wanted to tell you about. So this idea. AI does best. Instant response, 24/7 availability, collects information, automates booking. That's actually the thing that tipped the scale for me when I realized that these voice AI agents could actually look at your calendar and talk to somebody on the phone and then offer them times to book that initial consultation on your calendar and then schedule it, send the reminders, do all the different things. When I saw that, I was like, this is going to be revolutionary for the intake process. And let's see what else. Yeah, it never drops the ball. I'm not going to say it's perfect because AI is not flawless. It's not infallible. It's not perfect, but it's gotten really, really good. So that's what AI does best. And humans still have a competitive advantage, a significant advantage in a lot of different areas. We can build trust in a unique way. We can also navigate complexity because we kind of think of these AI systems, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or, all kinds of different tools as like these next level intelligence. The reality is that they get confused and they hallucinate and they can do things that are not cool. Humans can navigate complexity better. And I think still to this moment in time, we are better at matching someone and their particular presenting problems, their particular needs to the right therapist, whether that's us or somebody on our team, or even a referral that we're sending them to. So we're better at the client matching. And we can handle tough conversations about fees, about insurance, about all the challenges of life. And we can help people feel heard. And when people feel heard and understood, that's when they want to sign up and become a client of yours or of your practice. So some definite advantages there to being human. AI alone doesn't work. So how do they work together? Like logistically, how does this work? And there is definitely some flexibility in this. Right now, we're working with about 40 practices, providing them AI receptionists. And I would say that there's at least, I don't know, 5 to 6 to 7 different kind of configurations to the way people are using this technology. But here is kind of, in my mind, what an ideal sort of workflow looks like. So the potential client calls, let's just say, use the phone call example. The potential client calls your phone, and then the AI receptionist picks up, responds immediately. Hi, this is Tiffany. Thanks for calling Intune Family Counseling. I'm an AI assistant. How can I help you? And then in one way or another, they do a handoff to the human. So in the example I was giving, they would, like mine for my practice, Intune Family Counseling, it will actually look at Tiffany's calendar, my human intake coordinator, and then offer them a time on her calendar and then book it like I was saying. Alternatively, for practices who don't do consultations or anything like that, it can just automatically send you an email notification that has like a summary and a transcript, and then you can respond to them when you get a chance. And then the human follows up, has a phone call, email response, text response, whatever that might be, and then give them some options and book them as a client. At this point, like the capability is there for the AI receptionist to book an initial consult. Like I said, it could absolutely match them with the right therapist. At this point, our tool does not connect with any electronic health records. It could, and it will in the future, I'm sure, because if there's an open API on the other side being the EHR, it could absolutely create a client record, schedule an appointment in the EHR, but that's not something we're offering right now. And I think of our tool is kind of like a CRM or a client relationship manager, and then we do the handoff from there to the EHR, if that makes sense. And of course, happy to answer any like nuanced questions about like, how would this work for my practice? Or like, I do things this way. And that's part of the consultation process that we do with practices that we work with to dial it in just for them. Okay, so what does this sound like? Let's listen to a couple demo calls, and this will give you like, I've been explaining it and talking about the problems and the solutions and all the cool stuff, but this will give you a real sense of what it sounds like. So here, let's do the demo number 1. Can you hear
Hi,
this?
thanks for calling Intune Family Counseling. I'm Sarah, the Intune AI assistant. How can I help you today?
Hi there. I was hoping to get some counseling for my 16-year-old daughter. She's struggling with some anxiety.
Thank you for reaching out. That sounds really tough, and it's great you're looking for support for your daughter. To make sure our team can best help, could I get your name, please?
Sure, it's Uriah Guilford.
Thanks, Uriah. Just to be sure, can you spell your last name for me? I want to make sure I have it right.
Yes, it's Guilford.
Got it. Guilford spelled Guilford. Thank you. I see we have your email as uguilford@gmail.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Next, could you share a little more about what's bringing your daughter to counseling? Just a brief description is helpful, so our intake coordinator can be prepared.
Mostly anxiety, but I'm also concerned about her eating. Do you have any clinicians that help with eating disorders?
Thanks for sharing that, Uriah. We do have therapists experienced in working with teens who are dealing with anxiety and related concerns, including issues around eating. When you speak with our intake coordinator, Tiffany, she'll make sure to connect your daughter with the best fit therapist for her needs. Would you like me to help you schedule a consultation call with Tiffany to get started?
I think so, but I'm wondering if you take my insurance. It's Kaiser.
We're a private pay practice, and the only insurance we accept directly is Partnership Health Plan of California. However, we can often help you use your insurance to offset the cost of therapy, depending on your specific benefits and reimbursement rates. Our team can give you the information you need to check if you can be reimbursed for our services. If you'd like, Tiffany can go over all the details with you during your consultation call. Would you like to schedule that call?
Sure, that would be great.
Here are some available times for a consultation call with Tiffany. Tomorrow, August 6th at 9 a.m. or 12:30 p.m. Thursday, August 7th at 9 a.m. or 12:30 p.m. Do any of these work for you, or would you like to hear more options?
Tomorrow at 9 a.m. works.
You're all set for a consultation call with Tiffany tomorrow, August 6th at 9 a.m. She'll call you at the number we have on file. Is there anything else I can help you with right now?
I'm all set, thanks.
Thank you so much for trusting us with this important step, Uriah. You're going to be in excellent hands with our team. Take care of yourself, and I hope your daughter gets the support she needs very soon.
So there you go. There's a demo. I'll be honest with you, this is kind of like the perfect demo, right? So I was like a well-behaved potential client, asked questions, didn't interrupt, all those kinds of things. It doesn't always go that well. I'm just going to be honest with you. But we can configure the settings of the AI receptionist. It's kind of insane actually how much we can configure it in terms of like the speed that it talks, faster, slower. There's like over 100 voices to choose from. We can now we can turn on this thing called back channeling, which basically makes it do active listening essentially, and you can even type in the words that you want it to use. Like, okay, I see. Okay, understood, noted, or whatever that might be. Kind of sounds like a little more human, even though we're not trying to convince anybody or like fool them, so to speak, that this is a human. And in fact, when we, at the beginning of that, if you listen to it again, you would notice that it discloses that it's an AI assistant, right? And that's important. I think it's really important to do that because we're not trying to fool anybody and because it is getting good enough to where somebody might think it's a human. And then in a number of states, California, Illinois, and every state is adding some regulations about specifically chatbots. But a lot of states are requiring that disclosure. And more specifically, to make sure that no AI agent is pretending to be a therapist or acting as a therapist. So that's important to say. But we can configure a lot of different things about what it does and how it does it. But at the very basic level, it's answering questions, it's collecting information, potentially booking a consult call. It's doing some of that initial screening, and then giving them next steps. And one of the cool things too, that we can talk about if there's time, but we actually build a knowledge base for the practice. So we train this AI agent so that one that you were just hearing there actually has access to my whole website. And every week it reads my whole website again to see if anything has changed. And so it can answer questions about where we're located, how to get to the office, what insurances we take, who our providers are, sort of a little database of frequently asked questions. So it's like a team member who's been with us for a long time. It's got that level of knowledge. So lots more I can say about that, but I'm going to play one more demo call, and hopefully y'all have questions about this because I think it's pretty neato. Yes, I said neato. Okay, but real quick, actually, I wanted to mention this. So after that call, that was obviously a test demo call, but what happens after that call takes place? AI receptionist hangs up, potential client hangs up, a contact is created in our tool is called Simple Intake, but a contact is created for that person. And then what's called an opportunity is created, basically saying this is a new potential client that reached out. They need to get, they need some sort of follow-up. And then the calendar events were created for Tiffany, my human intake coordinator, and me as the potential client. And then an email went directly to Tiffany's email that had the contact details, a summary, and then like an actual transcript. And then if she wanted to, she could log into our platform and our HIPAA compliant platform, of course, and listen to the call recording and, if that was necessary. So all those things automatically happen right after that call. Some of them actually happening during the call. So a little automation there, which is cool. Let me play one more that's slightly different in tone.
Hi, thanks for calling Intune Family Counseling. I'm Sarah, the Intune AI assistant. How can I help you today?
Hi. I'm not really sure how this works, but I think I might need to talk to someone.
I'm really glad you reached out. Taking this first step can feel tough, but you're in the right place. To get started, I'll gather a few details so our intake coordinator, Tiffany, can connect with you and help match you with the best therapist for your needs. Can I get your first and last name?
It's Sarah Johnson.
Thank you, Sarah Johnson. Just to make sure I have it right, Sarah spelled S-A-R-A-H and Johnson J-O-H-N-S-O-N.
Yes, that's right.
Great, thanks for confirming. To make sure we can follow up with you, could you share your email address? This helps us send you important details and confirmation about your consultation.
I'm not really sure I feel comfortable with that. Can you tell me what your privacy policy is?
Absolutely, that's a great question. At Intune Family Counseling, counseling is private and confidential. We tailor our approach to your needs and meet you where you are. What you share is kept in confidence, and your information is only used to help coordinate your care and send you important details about your appointments. There are some exceptions to confidentiality, mostly involving safety concerns, but otherwise your privacy is a top priority. If you'd like, you can provide just a phone number for now, and our intake coordinator, Tiffany, can explain more about our privacy practices when she calls. Would you like to move forward that way?
That's fine. I can give you my email address.
Thank you, Sarah. Whenever you're ready, please share your email address. I'll repeat it back to make sure I have it right.
Actually, I don't want to give you my email address. I'll give you my phone number instead.
No problem at all, Sarah. You're welcome to provide just your phone number, and Tiffany will reach out to you that way.
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that this practice is actually going to be able to help me. Can I just share with you kind of what my situation is, and you tell me if this might be a good fit for me, this practice?
Of course, Sarah. You're welcome to share as much or as little as you'd like. While I can't provide clinical advice, I can tell you a bit about what we offer and help you understand if Intune Family Counseling might be a good fit. If you'd like, you can tell me a little about what's bringing you in, and I'll let you know if it sounds like something our team can help with. And if you have specific questions, Tiffany, our intake coordinator, can address them in detail during your consultation call. Would you like to share a bit about what's going on?
Yeah, please. I've just been feeling really anxious lately, like all the time. And my friend said that I should try therapy, but honestly, I don't even know what happens in therapy, and that makes me anxious too. Do I just talk? How does it work?
Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. Feeling anxious all the time can be really tough, and it makes complete sense that starting something new, like therapy, might feel a bit overwhelming. To answer your question, in therapy, you'll have a safe, confidential space to talk about what's on your mind. You can share as much or as little as you're comfortable with. The therapist's job is to listen, support you, and help you find ways to manage what you're feeling. There's no pressure to have all the answers or to talk about anything you're not ready for. As for whether it works, many people do find therapy helpful for managing anxiety and other challenges. It's a process, and everyone's experience is a little different, but our team has a lot of experience helping people work through anxiety. If you'd like, Tiffany can talk you through what to expect in your first session and answer any specific questions you have. Would you like me to have her reach out to you?
Yeah, sure, I guess so.
Thank you, Sarah. I'll make sure Tiffany reaches out to you soon to talk through next steps and answer any questions you have.
There you go. So that was a little bit of a different one. I think we named that one Uncomfy Marge for some reason. But the cool thing you can see there is that it's not a phone tree. It doesn't interact like a robot, so to speak, like where it's a scripted, a perfectly scripted thing. It can actually, no two calls are going to be exactly the same. It's going to answer questions about fees and about insurance and about all those kinds of things the same every single time, but it's very conversational. And I think that's what's pretty amazing about it. And that was recorded a little while ago, not too long ago, but you can see that the latency is actually pretty low, and that's just a fancy term for like the gap between when the human stops speaking and the AI starts speaking. It used to be where that was like uncomfortably long. We're like, okay, I know this is not good. I will say one thing I want to share is that a lot of people love AI. A lot of people are scared of it or don't like it, or it's a polarizing issue for sure. My philosophy right now is that nobody really wants to talk to AI for the most part, right? Nobody wants to call a business and talk to an AI receptionist. Let's be honest. But if it's helpful, if it solves their problem or gets them closer to the solution to their problem, and it works, they really don't mind. Truly, they really don't mind. And the nice thing I tell folks about this too, whether you're using our tool or some other AI receptionist, is that you know right away if people hate it or if they're having a bad experience, because you literally can look at the transcript, listen to the call, and you can turn it off if you don't like it or if your clients don't like it. But if you configure it, this is the tricky part, but if you configure it correctly and you sort of monitor it and supervise it and make changes as needed, you create a good experience for people that will honestly probably surprise them at first, and then maybe even they might tell somebody about it. So that's kind of cool. Okay. Let's see. And also, I'm not going to go into this too much, but we also build AI chatbots for folks to put on their website. And if you want to interact with a good example of this is my actual chatbot on my actual website. You can just go to intunefamily.com and feel free to have a conversation with it. I told Tiffany that people might be reaching out, but they're not real clients. So we're not going to follow up with you and try to get you booked or anything like that. Just, I would say if you go and have a chat with it, just say that you're testing it and that you're not, that you're not a real client or something like that. But the chatbot works surprisingly well, does all the same things. And it's honestly, a lot of people don't want to call a practice or a business or like anybody. Like my oldest daughter is 20, and getting her to call the mechanic to get her door fixed on her car, so hard. If her mechanic had a chat bot and she could book a time to come bring her car in and get her door fixed, she would do it in a heartbeat. So some people like to text, they like to chat and those kinds of things. Text-based chat, that is. So definitely check that out. Yeah, it's just intunefamily.com, but you can scan that if you want to. Okay, so we don't have to take questions now, but I'm going to say a couple more things, and then actually maybe I'll hold my frequently asked questions until you guys ask questions. How about that? Let me just go to the next slide. There's some common questions that people usually ask. Oh, this is a little ad that we created that's pretty cute, but I'll skip that for now unless we have time for it. So yeah, everything I'm talking about here is something that we've kind of, I mean, we're not the first to come up with this idea of, connecting AI with humans to provide better service. But I think we are one of the first companies doing this for the mental health space for private practice therapists and doing it in a unique way. So productive therapist method, 24/7 AI receptionist, you see what we're talking about here. And the cool thing is that this is what we actually provide through productive therapists. That's our primary service is virtual intake coordinators that are human, that work for your practice on a part-time basis, as well as combining that with this AI receptionist, which is a platform, a software platform that can manage your entire intake process. And I'm just going to share this real quick because if you want to use our tool and or our team, you're more than welcome to do that. But what I'm talking to you about today really is just the idea of this. So you could use another AI receptionist. Just make sure you use one that's HIPAA compliant. You could obviously use another company that provides intake coordinators or find your own. But I just wanted to share this with y'all. Simple Intake is the name of our tool. It's $297 per month, and it's perfect if you already have an intake team or most solo practices are probably not going to want to spend this kind of money for this type of thing, but it can absolutely pay for itself very quickly if you think about what one more client signed up on your calendar would actually bring into your practice on a monthly basis. Definitely more than $200, $300. And then we've got a team of U.S. based. They're employees with benefits. We take really good care of them, and they're fully trained to be intake coordinators for mental health practices. And then some folks are wanting both of those solutions together, and we can give them this complete intake system for like $12.97 a month. And also, just want to share this with everybody in case you're curious about this. I know some therapists are, definitely AI curious and want to know more about how this works. So I put together this resource called the AI Receptionist Blueprint, the 4 essential parts of an AI receptionist for your therapy practice. And I kind of just sort of pulled back the curtain and shared like our process of how we build these things and what we make sure that every AI receptionist has in terms of the knowledge base, the configurations, the settings, and how to apply it to our industry in a way that's ethical and mindful and creates a good experience for potential clients and doesn't make them angry. So there you go. That's my presentation, and I'm happy to answer questions. I've got a couple of like frequently asked questions that I can throw in there too if people don't bring those specific things up.
Sure. All right. Awesome. Yeah, so we have, again, just as a reminder to folks, if you do have questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A at the top of your screen. If you can't find the Q&A or it's acting a little wonky for you, feel free to post it in the chat as well. Okay, I'll make sure I check out both. Let's see. So first question from Masco. They said, how many seats do you get with the subscription?
Yeah, at this point, we don't limit the number of clinicians in the practice or the number of users. So yeah, unlimited.
Okay.
A lot of companies charge by license or by seat. We're not doing that. Most practices only have a couple of support staff, to be honest, and the clinicians don't need access to it. So that's not necessary. Yeah.
Okay, great. How long does it typically take for a practice to get fully set up and operational with the AI receptionist?
That's a great question. So once someone signs up, we get their account configured and then we schedule an onboarding call. That usually happens within about a week or so. And then there is a testing process that we guide folks through on how to make sure that they're comfortable with it, that it's answering and performing as expected before they actually make it live. And then there's definitely testing that happens after making it live. But I would say reasonably from like sign up to this thing is working every day for you, just the way you want it to do, 3 weeks or so, right around there.
Kimberly asked, do you have any customers that use this for additional services? So like psychiatry, substance use services, case management, etc.
Definitely. Yeah. We have quite a few practices who do psychological testing, neuropsych practices, practices that have group offerings. So yeah, absolutely. And we can add information to the knowledge base so that it knows about all the different services and our offerings and can advise on those for sure. Yeah.
Great. Let's see. So as far as the training and configuration time, how much is like already pre-trained versus how much is customizable for their agency?
Yeah. So we have worked very hard to create a prompt on the back end that works really well for our use case, and we tweak a couple things on that with the practice owner, um, but and then we train it on your website and with the FAQs that you give us. So we have like a very fully functional AI receptionist, and then we add all the information about your practice. We put those together, and then we change a few things to make it work the way that you want it to work. Like, for example, whether or not you do consultations that are scheduled or not, those kinds of things. So it is very flexible, it's customizable, and we work directly with folks to do that. And it's really like the way we do it. It's not true for every company that offers this, but we try to make it like a really sort of done for you experience because I mean, some of us therapists are like myself are kind of techie and we want to get in there and learn this stuff, but most of us don't. We just want it to work. And so this is not like buying a software tool that you have to go spend 15 hours to learn how to use. We're going to do it for you.
Okay, great. Let's see. So for practices that already have intake staff, um, how does this change their role rather than replace it?
Yeah. So, as I said before, I have a team of intake coordinators, right? And I've told them many times that this is not a threat to their jobs. And that's not true. That's not true in every context, in every business. Like there's so many businesses out there that are trying to replace the human staff, right? We're not trying to do that. We're trying to make their job easier and streamline things for the practice. So it's really like, think about it like an assistant to the intake coordinator, right? And there's a couple different ways we can configure that so that, like, for example, like I showed, someone calls, talks to the AI receptionist, and it books them a consultation call on the calendar of the intake coordinator. But we can also set it up to where we forward that number directly to the practice so that the intake coordinator can answer live. And then if they, for some reason, they can't answer live, then the AI receptionist is the backup to the live answer. Hopefully that answers the question. But we can configure it a couple different ways depending on how the practice operates.
Okay, awesome. So does this have an option, like a built-in option to talk to a human? So, if they're like, hey, robot, I don't want to talk to you, give me a human, is there an option for that?
Yeah, we always build that in. I call it the human handoff because, like I said before, nobody really wants to talk to an AI agent of any kind, and sometimes they're like kind of not happy about it, and so they say things like, like we all do, I want to speak to a human, or like, give me a representative. So we literally build it in. So if someone says those phrases, it will transfer them to whatever number the practice chooses. Usually, it's like the internal phone number. So yeah, we absolutely build that in because we don't want to frustrate anybody or keep them like stuck in a loop of, annoying AI conversations. And I'll say this is just a technical detail, but the AI receptionist does require its own phone number. But we have some call flow options that work with the existing practice phone number to make sure they don't have to give up their phone number by any means.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then what about in terms of, like one, the AI maybe can't understand the client. So let's say maybe they're in crisis, right? And they're not speaking super clear, or they're mumbling, or crying, etc. How does the AI handle that?
So we built something into the prompt called crisis call handling, obviously super important for what we do. And if it senses that and it's actually very good at this, if it senses that there's any crisis situation, safety concerns, those kinds of things, it gives a standard response, which is, what a human intake coordinator would give to 911 emergency room, call 988 for, crisis handling. And then it will skip booking a consultation call because we don't want to take someone who's in crisis and give them an appointment and, a call in 3 days or something like that. So it handles that really, really well. Good question about like crying and mumbling. Well, I guess we'll have to test that. That does happen, but I would think that would happen more with a human on the line than AI. But it could. It definitely could. Yeah, it's instructed to. It has instructions to not make up answers if it doesn't have the answers, and not to diagnose, give advice, provide therapy, etc. I'll have to test that one actually.
Yeah. Or maybe
Yeah.
even like speaking a different language, right? So like with like a really heavy accent or something like that. Does it handle multiple languages?
This is like one of the coolest things. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah.
Because like in the last 8 years of having productive therapists, people have definitely called us quite a bit saying like, hey, can you give me an intake coordinator who also speaks Spanish? And sometimes we have had that. We've had somebody on the team that speaks Spanish. Great. With the with the voice AI agent, it speaks like I think it's like 11 languages now. And so yeah, and it can we can actually switch it on to make it multilingual, so it can go from English to to Dutch to Spanish. And then we have a setting for the transcript, so like the transcript can all be in English, which is pretty wild if you think about it. It's taking in audio from in another language and then translating it into
Hmm.
English. Yeah. So for sure. Yeah, the
Yeah.
multilingual people really like that.
Okay, awesome. Let's see, we have another question come in here. So can you further explain the 1297 service a little more and how a small company could utilize
Yeah.
this service to conduct like assessments, person-centered plans, outpatient therapy? Yeah, and I'll give you part two after.
Yeah, for sure. So our virtual intake services are usually most ideal for practices with about 5 to 15 clinicians or so. We have some smaller and some bigger, but we start out with 20 hours a month of a virtual assistant time. And that doesn't sound like very much, but we actually bill to the minute so that you literally don't pay for any unproductive time. And so that 1297 does include full access to our AI receptionist and the entire platform to manage your intake process, as well as the human intake coordinator to oversee the AI receptionist for you and do also back office tasks. We do all kinds of administrative things, check insurance benefits, all the things that you would expect us to do. And that's honestly for a small practice, a growing practice, that's a great place to start until you grow enough to hire your own proper like part-time person that's 20 hours a week or 30, 40 hours a week. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then part two to that. So I know you mentioned that it does not integrate with like EHRs, but does it integrate with any like calendars or any other scheduling apps, anything like that?
Yeah, so the platform is very capable and we can integrate with all kinds of things. We choose not to because of HIPAA compliance and PHI, protecting PHI, of course. So people that come to us that already have Calendly or Acuity set up for the online scheduling piece, we usually tell them just to like cancel that because our platform has the scheduling functionality built in. So it all that's actually the only way the AI receptionist can do the scheduling function is by using the part of the platform that does that.
Mm-hmm.
But we can connect. Basically, the way that works is we connect with that person's calendar, whether it's Google or Outlook, so that the AI receptionist can see their availability. But yeah, that's all included. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and then I know you said you had some frequently asked questions. So I know we got just a couple minutes left. I didn't know if there was
Those are great
anything.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we hit all of them except for
Okay.
any questions about HIPAA compliance. We do, of course, sign a business associates agreement with all the practices that we work with, and we pay special attention to being HIPAA compliant. So that's pretty key. We can also we want to be like the one source for all incoming referrals, right? So we can also put a custom contact form on your website that pulls those inquiries into the platform. Obviously, AI receptionist conversations, chatbot conversations, all those types of things come into the platform and can be managed from there. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions that we had. Yeah, so thank you for joining us today. Definitely really informative. I believe we'll be sending out an email after that has the recording and all of that good stuff in it. But yeah, so again, Uriah, if they want to touch base with you, what's the best method for them to do that?
Productivetherapist.com. That's where you can find all the information. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. All right. Well, I thank you everyone for joining. Yeah, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.